Alright, this is a quick start guide for the Piaggio P180 Avanti by FlightFX on Microsoft Flight Simulator. We are completely cold and dark here at the signature FBO, so let's get inside and get the aircraft ready for our passengers. And welcome to the flight deck of the Piaggio. If you have flown the Cessna Citation CJ4, this will look very familiar to you. Before we get powered up, I want to show you a couple of my settings. So here on the EFB, you can actually hide the EFB by clicking on Tablet Stow. That'll put it right underneath your Autopilot. You can click there and move it right back to the window. I'm going to my settings to show you what we're working with. Right now, we're currently cold and dark here at the FBO. We have our chocks installed. We have the main door and luggage door open. So we'll start by going ahead and closing those doors. You could also go back and manually do that with your mouse in the 3D cockpit. And then over here, I'm using automatic steering mode. I actually really recommend this mode. I'll explain more about this later. But then I also have engine damage turned on. And this is completely preference if you want to simulate your engine being damaged. So let's go ahead and power on the aircraft. And to do that, we'll start by getting our battery on. So it's gonna be right down here. Click and drag that up. Battery on. Avionics to the up position. And if I leave it like this, we will drain the battery pretty quickly. So we need power. Either we need to start the engine or we need to hook up the GPU. So in this case, I'm going to hook up the GPU. To do that, we're going to go down here to the center console and go to our FMS. So first, we're on the position initialization page. Let's go ahead and click on pause in it. And then click on this little GPS GNSS dot here. That's going to copy it there. We'll then hit flight plan. And that's good to go. Let's now go over to index here on the left side. Click on index. We're going to go to page 2. So go next here, page 2, and then settings. And here is where you can put in your Simbrief ID. So if you want to input your flight plan into the aircraft, it does support that. And then ground power is right here on the top. So you can click here to switch it from off to on. In my case, it's not available. I'm not in a valid parking spot, but I also have mapped it to a key binding, which you could do too if you want. For me, it's Control Alt E. That's going to force the GPU to be connected, and it will show that on the exterior view. But now that we have power, we are no longer just draining the battery, which is good. So we can sit here as long as we want, and this will allow us to have time to set up our FMS. So let's go back to the FMS, and I'm going to go back to the index page, and we're going to import our flight plan. So we're going to go to root menu here on our index page 1, and then go to flight plan recall. That's going to say request pending. Once that is complete, that'll actually import our entire flight plan except for our departure and arrival. So you can see here we're flying from KISM to TJSJ. That is Kissimmee, Florida to San Juan, Puerto Rico. I'm going to hit execute here. That's good to go. And then I'm going to click on departure arrival here. And we're going to import our departure. Now, in my case, I don't have a departure, but you might. But this is where you'll see that. You can select that right there. I am going to be using runway 15 for departure. I'm going to select that on the right. Hit execute again, and then go back to departure arrival index, and then go to our arrival section. So TJSJ, we also do not have a planned arrival for this airport, but there are plenty to have. So if you want to put yours, you can put it right there on the left. For me though, we're gonna go straight to our approach, which is gonna be the RNAV runway 10 approach into San Juan, Puerto Rico. It will not be vectors. It will be transitioning at CORAF. We'll click on CORAF. That's good to go. We'll hit execute on that as well. And then we'll go ahead and confirm that on the legs page. So go to legs. We can scroll through all of our flight plan here. We see we do have a discontinuity. We don't want this one though. It wants us to fly to the SJU VOR. I'm gonna go ahead and delete that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on CORAF, and I'm gonna basically replace SJU with CORAF by clicking on this button here, and then execute. There we go. And next, we'll go back to the flight plan button view. And this has already been filled out for us. So let's move over to performance initialization. And here is where we'll put our perf data. So we have 5 passengers on board today. I'm getting these numbers from Simbrief. And we are carrying about 275 pounds. And our fuel is actually wrong. So I'm actually going to go to our Microsoft menu. Right now, that's the only way to actually fuel the aircraft. I need 2655. I'm going to just scroll this until I get near that ballpark. This is a pretty long flight. Matter of fact, it's going to be 100% fuel, and 2354 is enough. We'll make it with that, and there we go. We will be cruising at 370. That's up here. You can change that if you need to, and I'll hit execute again. Now we go to our takeoff page, and it'll show our runway ID. You don't have to worry about anything on the left except for whether the runway is dry or wet. But you are going to want to pick up your local weather, and for me that's going to be 0/0 because the winds are calm. Outside air temperature is 24 degrees Celsius, and the altimeter is actually correct, 3015. Execute. And then you go to next page, and here you'll set whether you're taking off with anti-ice on, what your takeoff flap settings are, which is usually mid, and then you can just go hit send, and that will actually send your V speeds to your MFD, and that's complete. And that is all done with the FMS. With that done and our clearance received for our flights, we can actually set up our autopilot, and to do that, our autopilot panel is right here up in the center, and we're going to first set our altitude. So we'll give ourselves our cruise altitude of 37,000 feet. I just flipping the altitude knob. We'll be using runway heading, which is heading 153, which is right here. So we'll go ahead and find 153. There it is. Okay, next I need to set my barometric pressure. So right now it's in hectopascals. I need that in a different format. You can click on ref here twice, and then use the menu button, the small one, to switch it over to inches of mercury. And we need that to be 3015. And to set our transponder, it's right down here. We need to be set to 2757, so we'll click here and roll the knob, the little knob for the small numbers, 2757, and then the big knob for the front two numbers. There it is, that is now set. And with that done, we'll go down here to our center panel for the engine start. So we go to our position lights, on our anti-collision lights to ground. Make sure that your throttle is in idle and your condition levers, these two here, are in the cutoff, which is the all the way back position. Now, we're gonna go up here to the master switches and go to our shutoff valve to open, main pump to main, that's your fuel pump. And then we'll go to right start in the up position. You'll look here, you're looking for 13% on the ITT. That happens pretty quick. And then you'll move your right condition lever up to ground idle. And engine 2 is spooling up. And once that engine is stabilized, we're actually going to push our right condition lever up to the FI, or the flight idle. What we're going to do is we're going to do a cross feed start. Once that's up, we can go ahead and disconnect our GPU via the FMS or the hotkey. I'm going to use the hotkey. That's going to disconnect my GPU, and then we're going to go to our right generator and put it into the on position. And then behind our yoke, I'm going to hide the yoke. I'm going to go to our hydraulics. Very important step. Turn that on. There we go. And with that done, we'll move on to our left engine. Same concept. So left fuel shutoff valve to open, left main fuel pump to the on position all the way up, and then start. Waiting for 13% and condition lever up to ground idle. And once our left engine is stabilized, we can go ahead and move down and move both of our condition levers to the flight or the ground idle position. And we'll go left generator on. Let's set our landing altitude. So in Puerto Rico, it's basically sea level because it's an island. Put it to 0. While we're down here, we'll set our radio on 121.7 for ground. If you need to change the radio, you can click here on the left and swap them like that. And now I'm going to unhide the yoke to explain the nose steer. So right here on the yoke on the top left, it says mode steer. This aircraft has 2 steering modes. When you're on the ground, you obviously want this in taxi mode. That way, that'll allow the gear to fully rotate left and right to make tight turns. But when you're taking off, this is going to make it very sketchy, right? So you want to make sure that you click on that mode steer button before takeoff and when you're taxiing. Now, right now I have it on automatic, so automatically it's in steer taxi no matter what I do because we're just sitting here on the ground. If I turn that off here on the EFB, I can now put that into steer mode takeoff. So if you wanna do it manually, just make sure you don't forget to put it into takeoff before you actually get onto the runway. So put it back into steer taxi and put it onto automatic so I don't forget. So let's continue. Pitot static up to the up position, windshield heat to low, oil cooler intake, you can turn those on. This is all your anti-ice, so you turn it on as needed. We don't need it. Over here, we'll set our flaps for a takeoff will be mid. And then down here below the FMS is our pitch trim. So make sure you actually have something bound on your joystick or yoke to go up and down pitch. We're gonna press our pitch trim down until we get into the green. I find it mostly balanced right in the middle. So I'm gonna drag my pitch trim until we get to that middle white line in the green. And there we go, perfect. And we are just about ready to taxi. Just make sure you check your flight controls. We'll go down here, we'll get the taxi light turned on. And make sure that for taxi, you want to taxi in ground idle. That's the farthest back position. And we want to turn auto feather to armed. So that's in the up position. Also, if you get this EPU drain warning, the way to silence that is go to EPU arm here on the top of your master switches, put it into the up position, and that should disappear. There we go. No more cast messages. Alright, let's remove the chocks, release the parking brake, and let's get out of here. Kiss me ground, Piaggio 16 Bravo, ready to taxi from signature with hotel.
Piaggio 16 Bravo, taxi to runway 15 via Alpha. Contact tower on 124.45 when ready for departure.
Taxi to runway 15 via Alpha. Contact tower on 124.45 when ready for departure. Piaggio 16 Bravo. So right now, as we're rolling out of the FBO, I actually have no power applied. We're on throttle idle, and our condition lever is in the ground idle position. That's all you need to get rolling. If you want a little power, you can add some actual throttle in, but you really don't need it. And if you have it in max power for your condition lever, you'll just be holding the brake the entire time. Now, if you need to, you can also push your throttles into the beta range or the reverse range, and that'll help slow you down so you can ease off the brakes. And as we make our way to the runway, I'm going to actually turn on active noise reduction. So that way, I can hear myself a little bit better. And we'll stow the tablet for departure. Alright, this is our runway 15. And we'll do a couple of things before we depart here. Starting with our main screen here, let's kind of have a preference. So down here on the screen, I'm going to change my format here so I can see the whole flight plan a bit better. And we can zoom our screen out with this little button right here. Just like that. Alright, so we'll go anti-collision lights to air, recognition lights on, fasten seatbelt signs on, get our bleed air on. There we go. Our condition levers can now go to max. There they go. And then make sure it doesn't run off on you. Make sure you're holding your toe brake so your brake is on when you do that. The aircraft will roll off
Honda Jet
on
4
you.
Delta Sierra.
All right, we are now ready to go. Land lights into
over to departure. 4 Delta Sierra.
And we'll go ahead and request takeoff. Make sure your auto feather is on as well. Auto feather should always be on during taxi, takeoff, and landing. Kiss me tower. Piaggio 16 Bravo is ready to go at runway 15.
Piaggio 16 Bravo, runway 15, winds calm. Fly runway heading, cleared for takeoff.
Runway heading, clear for takeoff, runway 15, Piaggio 16 Bravo. Okay, so a couple speeds to note. So as we roll out of here, we'll rotate at about 110 knots. We will kill the auto feather at 150 knots or less. It's not super important. You can do it later if you're busy. And then our flaps need to be up by 170 knots or so. And we'll plan on climbing out at 165 knots. So here we go. Line up the runway 15. We have been cleared. And we'll push the throttles up. 2,000 RPMs the max you want to go. If you have engine damage turned on, you really have to watch your ITT and RPM. There's 110. And rotate. Very smooth, positive rate, gear up. Beautiful, gear is up. And we can go ahead and get our autopilot on, so we'll hit heading mode. We'll sync our heading as well. Yaw damper on. flight change mode at around 170, 165.
Piaggio 16 Bravo,
And
contact
autopilot.
departure on 119.4.
There it is. Autopilot is now on. And I'm going to rotate my vertical speed until I get about 165. That'll be our climb out speed. And because flight level change is on the aircraft, we will maintain 165. And look at that, we're doing 5,500. Now watch our torques here. I'll pull my power back, my throttle's back. As we get out of the red, so our NG's coming down, our torque's coming down. There we go. And we can push this up to just below 100. So I was kind of managing that, just moving my throttle up and down right here.
283 Alpha Papa, contact
There
ground on
you go.
121.7.
Now, if you have engine damage turned off, that does not matter. But if you have engine damage turned on, very important for you to watch your torques and your ITT temperatures. And this will change as you climb out. So the higher you get, these numbers will change. So you have to keep making changes to them. All right, I hope this was helpful to you, and let me know if there's any other aircraft you want me to make a quick start guide for. Thanks for watching, and remember, you had 3 choices: give up, give in, and give it all you got. Peace, love, and God bless you. I'll see you guys next time. Next video. I'm out.